Is this one you struggle with?
It definitely has been, and yes. Yes in the past, yes in the present, and probably in the future.
Okay. Then why don't we start with you? Because I would like to give this some contextualization. Like
Yes,
yeah, give us a
yes.
story. Set it up.
Okay, story time. Let's take getting out of the house. So I work from home, and in order to get out of the house on a work day, that has to be very intentional. So just getting out to go for a walk. I know that is good for me. I know I almost always feel better when I do it. And yet sometimes I struggle to do it and then usually regret not doing it. It's not really often that I decide not to go for a walk and I think, oh yes, that was the best decision for me. I don't beat myself up about it in the way that I used to. And the way I see it is that I can be gripped by an inertia that I cannot mobilize to do those things. Or I cannot, do you know what that sounds? As I said that, I realized that sounded very self-defeating and it can sound very self-prophesying. And it also makes it sound like I never managed to get myself out for a walk when actually quite
That
often
doesn't.
I
It
do.
just sounds like when you don't, that this is what
Mm.
comes up.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When I don't, that's what comes up. And it can often be if I haven't one day, it often turns into a couple of days before I go, come on, come on. And I don't go, come on, you should do this. I'm like, come on, this will make you feel better.
Okay. What's the conflict? Like, is the conflict that you're questioning why this happens or getting frustrated with yourself, or is it that you're just frustrated that it happens?
Yeah, I think the last, I'm frustrated that it happens.
Because I feel like that's different from what I mostly hear from people who have frustration with themselves and who don't
Yeah.
understand why this is going on, which I think is
Yeah.
a different place to be in.
Yeah. And that's because I just think I have a load more self-compassion for myself than I did, even a few years ago around this kind of thing. Because I think I recognize that beating myself up about it doesn't inspire me to do it. It's not what makes me then decide to do it at all. Um, so it just seems a bit fruitless. But it's also, yeah, I feel sad about it sometimes. I think I wish I could get myself to do it on those times.
Well, what
Um,
do you make of the fact that you don't?
I don't know. Like I can say, it's just the experience that I have of myself, and so I feel sad about it. But in terms of like the meaning I give it, I think it's just a sad thing. I can't seem to get myself to do
What?
it sometimes. I
You're just
don't,
sad. No, but
yeah,
I
I'm just
mean,
sad about it. I don't know how.
but what is the function of it? What do you make of? Agree that you're sad about it,
Mm.
but what do you make of the fact that you don't? Where is it
It's
coming from?
exactly the same. I
I know.
don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. All I can say is it's an inertia that I experience. I don't know where it's
Uh,
coming from. I don't know if it's emotional. I don't know if it's physical. I don't know if it's mental.
Okay.
I don't know, but I know I can't blast through it.
Yeah. Does it intersect with your feelings of self-worth, like that it comes from a self-punishment? And are you on that side of the fence in any way? Like that you're somehow
No,
sabotaging yourself? Okay.
no, no, that doesn't resonate me at all. And in fact, what it normally would look like is, let's say a couple of 2 days have gone by and I haven't managed to get myself out for a walk. In order to do it on the third day, I have to do it first thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to say to myself, and it is probably the biggest lie that I say to myself, is if I plan to go for a walk in the morning and I say, actually, I think I'll go later, I'll go in the afternoon. I really, when I say it, imagine myself going for the walk in the afternoon and then I don't.
Yeah, I
So,
get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the mobilization for me. So that's how I kind of work around it is to try to just accept, look, I am the kind of person who needs to get myself out first thing. I just
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
And it also, this is this silly thing. I mean, I don't say that in a judgmental way. It just is absurd. Um, is that when I lived before I moved into this place, I only moved like less than a mile down the road. When I stepped out of that other place, within a 2-minute walk, I was in green space. Now it's only a couple of minutes drive, but that extra obstacle of needing to get in the car and drive has really impacted. I do half the amount of walking
Yeah.
than I did just over a year ago when I was living there.
100%. Before we were talking, you were like, could you turn around? Could you record? Because I'm in my bedroom to record this. And I was like, oh, if I turn my camera around, I'm gonna have to make my bed. And she's like, oh, I wouldn't have expected you were someone who didn't make your bed. I was like, oh, I am someone who makes my bed, but not since we got a duvet or a duvet, as you would say. I didn't realize we said this differently. Because having the duvet as opposed to a comforter is like, it extends the bed making process by 5 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it's way longer than 30 seconds. And that matters. So these small barriers will make the difference. And I think that in the past, there would have been a part of me that judged that. Like, what's the difference? It's 30 extra, it's an extra few seconds. It's an extra couple of miles, or it's just like an extra step. But I know that extra steps increase mental load exponentially, and it matters. And it's even the OT principle of you will be cued by your environment in ways that go beyond what makes logical sense, like either for or against something. And that has a huge impact unless you're being very intentional and using a lot of energy to override that, which we don't all have. And that to me makes enough sense. And I feel it in my soul. So therefore, I don't struggle with this because I might be frustrated by certain things, but I feel like it makes sense. And there's not a part of me that questions why that's happening or gets mad at myself for it happening. And I think I would guess, I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but like this topic is something that usually comes with shame. There's the struggle of why do I not do this thing? And that question of why is not here for me. Like I get why. And once you know why, then it's just, oh, well, that stinks. Like I wish it were different. But the why to me is what will hang me up on something. If I can't understand why I'm not doing something or doing something, then I'm struggling with, is this my character? Is this something to do with me? If it's not that, then it's just a reality to face.
Yes. Yes. And you're absolutely right, those small steps. I like the way you put it. It increases mental load exponentially. And it doesn't seem to make sense. The mental resistance, right? Because we have competing parts as well, because there is a part of me that in the afternoon, I have an energy slump and I don't like the cold, but I actually really do like once I'm outside on a winter's walk and I'm moving and my body's warm and the air's cool, like I can really enjoy that. So I know that when I'm out there, I'm fine and I enjoy it. But like the part of me, when I think about what the resistance is to getting out, the part of me that wants to actually, I have my lunch and I just want to curl up under my heated blanket on the sofa for like half an hour. There's a pull for that. Something that happened to me at the weekend, I was on a retreat. And on this retreat, you have 2 contemplative walks a day, and you have to go out for these walks.
You have to go outside?
Yeah, yeah. And one of these walks is about 8:30 at night, and it's November, and it's dark, and you're in the middle of the countryside, and it was wet, and it was just, I did not want to go. I mean, I've done this retreat twice in winter months, and I never want to do the evening walk. But I was like committed to just following everything that I was supposed to do on this retreat. But I got myself out for that walk, and I was really resentful. And I got outside and I am complaining. In my mind, I am grumbling about having to be outside, about the weather, about this, about that. Grumble, grumble, grumble. And then I noticed that I'm grumbling, and this is supposed to be a meditative walk. Like I'm not supposed to be grumbling in my head. I'm supposed to be contemplating and all of this. So I get frustrated. I get frustrated that I'm such a whiny person, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm frustrated. And then I remember self-compassion. Like she comes and I remember, I'm like, oh. And the self-compassion went first to the complaining and just said, of course you're complaining. Like this isn't your bag, I'm more of a city person anyway. I don't really like being out in the middle of nowhere, right? So I was just like, of course, like this is what your brain is going to do. It's going to complain, of course. It's like, and of course you're going to feel frustrated about that because that's not how you want to show up. And that simple act of validating the resistance to the complaint, it fell away. And then the next thing I was aware of was actually like how clean the air smelled because I'm out in the countryside and it's been raining, which of course pulls all the pollen and dust out of the air. So it smelled really clear. And then I could smell like a bonfire. And then like at that point I could see the sky. And then the moon was all ethereal behind the clouds. And it just completely shifted. And then I really enjoyed my walk.
Hmm.
And I think that's I think probably a more I say extreme, but like a really clear example of how that process works. But I've also found in smaller situations around doing the thing that I actually know I'd feel good if I did it and just got into it, that validating the resistance often like suffers
Yeah.
it. Sometimes it just falls away. But
Yeah.
it needs to be genuine validation.
Yeah.
Because if I try to just sort of push it away, going like, yeah, of course you feel like that, but you need to get on with it, rather than just being with it and
Yeah.
allowing that. And I wonder how many people like there's something similar going on when it comes to this resistance or this block to doing something that they know they're going to feel good for doing.
Well, yeah, because sometimes we're not having compassion for the parts that speak again, that have the conflict, which
Yeah.
leads one to believe that self-compassion is one of the antidotes to dealing with this issue, right? Like if
Mm.
we're constantly running up against frustration with ourselves, like that self-compassion could go a long way. I think you're right that self-compassion can only be effective if we really fully understand those parts. And I'm thinking about like, are there situations where I'm trying to personally think like, okay, if I couldn't access self-compassion, why would that be? What would be standing in the way of it? And that would be if there was a reason why I wasn't doing something that I knew was good for me. How do I put this? Like if the reason I'm not doing it is because there is something I'm not admitting to myself or that I'm not facing. So and maybe this has to do with just the value of self awareness, but if I'm not doing something because there's a belief that I have that I'm unwilling to look at, then I'm going to have a frustration with myself. Then there's going to be something about my discomfort with this whole situation that's more a reflection of you need to look at this thing. There's something here that's in your way that you're not willing to look at, and that's what's getting in your way. And until you look at that thing, you're going to be stuck. It's not about what you're not doing, it's about what you're not looking at first. And that to me is like almost this call to ask myself to face something. It's just really hard to give an example of what that would be. But like I know that there's let me try to think of can you think of one like where that
Well,
would
I just wanted to comment that this really speaks to you because I just think that it is one of your strongest values, right? This idea of not hiding from yourself, not deceiving yourself. So the theme here, I might not feel it as strongly
Okay.
as you do in this situation. So maybe there's something about a clash of values. If
Yeah.
it feels like we're really going against our values,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why we're not doing it is really anti our values. So if you
Yeah,
even, yeah,
but
go on.
it's the thing before that. It's not quite the thing because what all right, let me just try to give the best example I can. Let's say that like one of the things that I think would be good for me that I don't do is I actually think it would be good for me to take time off of work to write a book. I think that would be good for me on many levels.
I agree.
The reason I won't do it yet is because, well, it's a little bit I mean, there's also a part of me that's like, well, I have compassion for the part of me that won't do it because there's also something to be said of the practicality of that. But let's say that's not the issue. I still think I wouldn't do it. And the reason why I think I wouldn't do it yet is because I have a belief that if I did, I wouldn't write a good enough book and then everybody would know it. You know, like I would somehow like my sweet spot is not there. It would make me feel bad about myself in some way. So there's the part of me that's having a conflict with this is not it's not that I won't do the thing. It's that I won't look at the fact that my belief is that I like it's the problem with the belief that I won't look at. Of course, I've just named it to you, so I am looking at it. But like let's say that I hadn't gotten there and that I was just afraid to confront something. That's the problem. It's not really about the not doing of the thing or the doing of
Mm.
the thing. It's about why I won't do the thing.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was saying, but
Oh,
maybe not. Maybe I
well,
wasn't clear.
because at other times when you're talking about clash of values, it can be like going for walks is a value for me. So why wouldn't I do it? But
No,
if
but
the
it would be
reason,
the reason for not going was a clash
yeah,
of a value.
right, exactly. I think that's a
Yes,
distinction.
yes, yes. Well, how would you know? If you know that the reason why you're not doing is because there's a belief there, you already know. How could you not? How could
Well, I
you?
don't think I could not know because I'm
That's
like
what I
always,
mean.
but I think if, but I wonder if like, because I can think of some clients I've worked with who have some variety of this, where like maybe the issue is that there is a different thing going on that they're not looking at.
Mhm.
And that's where there's a part of inside of them that's speaking up for that. Like that's what that conflict is. That's what the frustration is
I
that
see.
it's not about what they think it's about. It's about the fact that there's a different something going on there that's being bypassed.
Yes. So if you were unaware of this belief that you were that there's a fear that you wouldn't write a good enough book, if you were unaware of that, it would still be showing up as resistance, but you just wouldn't know why.
Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
suggesting to look there instead of here. So,
Yes. Yes.
like I had a client recently who was really struggling with a behavior that she was engaging in that she was like it was the behavior was very against her values. And she was so frustrated with herself for not quote unquote fixing it. And at the end of the day, there was a belief that she had about herself that comes from a long history of trauma. And facing that was harder than just giving herself crap for not doing the thing. Right.
Hmm.
So eventually getting to a place of saying, I think the reason why this is happening is because of this stuff. And I'm not ready to talk about this stuff. I'm not ready to look at this stuff was actually quite clarifying because it was like, okay, then that's what's going on. That's the clarity here. That makes it make sense. And again, going back to that idea of like, if can make sense to us why we're not doing something, that might change the relationship we have with, oh, okay, that does make sense to me. Therefore, this isn't my fault. It's just there's this other layer here. Until we got to
Yes.
that layer, it felt like her fault.
Yes. Where I think a lot of people get stuck on the self-compassion piece is that self-compassion feels like they're letting themselves off the hook. And actually, if I say to myself, yeah, okay, you didn't go for your walk today, that's not the end of the world, it's okay. Where's the motivation to go when I'm in
Yeah.
conflict about it? And I think that's a really important thing to address. What it sounds like for me, and it was something again, like I go back to the retreat because that was last weekend and self-compassion was coming up a lot there around all different things because you're sort of pursuing this experience on this retreat. And I had to say to myself, and I remember when I was on the retreat, I said to myself over and over, regardless of the outcome of this retreat, I will not turn on myself. And I know that sounds like, well, why would you anyway? I'll tell you why, because I've been on these retreats before and I have come back in a puddle of
I
shame
wasn't
and
questioning it.
self-blame. No, I know, I'm not talking to you
I know.
directly. I'm just like, because I absolutely have been there. But it would also sound like when there were times when I was getting, because you do these contemplative dyads where you are talking, you're in a meditation, but you're communicating to your partner and they're listening, and then you're listening. So you're 50% meditating, communicating, 50% listening to somebody else. And when I was getting frustrated with certain things, like just on the retreat and in the dyad work that we're doing, it was like this voice would say to me, it's not about you. Now, that sounds like that could go either way, right? That sounds like that could be a very like, um, putting yourself down. But the energy of that was not that at all. It was like the most gentlest of, and I'm even reluctant to use the word rebuke because of, the connotations with that word. But it was like there's a reminder here that we're all in this together. We become very self-focused when we're stuck in self-judgment and shame. Like our world gets really small into our internal experience and what's going on for us. And for me, self-compassion is actually about the widening of that, about what it means to be a human being. And the fact that we even do an episode on why aren't we doing the things that we know are good for us shows that this is a fairly universal experience, at least for a
Yes.
lot of human beings.
Yes.
And sometimes that's the place to reach for self-compassion, is to go, this is an experience. Humans are terrible at like making the best decisions for themselves. Like we're making mistakes all the time. But I think my self-compassion can say, come on, Sarah, you can do better than this. And it's not anything about I've done what, like it can be encouraging
Yeah.
in a kind, it can pull me up if you like,
Mm-hmm.
in a really compassionate way. Whereas I think self-compassion, so many people think it's just telling yourself you're okay and everything's fine.
Yeah. Right. Yes. It's a it's a forget it. Moment passed. It's a commonly I can't even say it.
Can you leave that in? I don't even know what you're trying to say.
You want me to leave that in?
Yes, please.
Oh my God. I think I was trying to say it's a common misconception.
Okay. If I enjoyed it, other people might.
Maybe. Think this is an excellent topic for parts work. The validation of the parts of us that we wish weren't there, and that they're the ones usually speaking up at moments like this. But your point too of that doesn't mean they have to run the show. And sometimes it actually does. I feel like there's some situations where I have parts of me, more shadowy parts, who are like, hey, like even not making the bed, it kind of does bother me. And there's parts of me that are like, it's my overwhelmed part. That's like, no. Like, it's just so overwhelmed, ridiculously overwhelmed. And it's that part of me that won't do it. And so I don't like that about me. So I have this other part that comes in that's like my advocate who's like, yes, you are overwhelmed and that is valid. And that's why we're not making this bed. Go forth. Don't worry about it. And that my advocate has to come in because the overwhelmed part is really powerless a lot of times. But also, if it meant that much to me, I might benefit from, yes, having compassion for my overwhelmed part, but also being able to say, to kind of put that in its perspective and to help myself challenge that. Because I also think we can end up in a place where we're so busy validating our shadow parts and things like that, that we get stuck there and ultimately end up victimizing ourselves through the analysis, and there's room for that. I think there's space for that. And there's a certain amount of time I think we do need to spend in allowance and in validation. And then I think there's a place to say, come on, Steph, make your bed. Like, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't mean that much to me. But if it did, I would either need to be helping myself through that, or I would need to be further investigating my parts.
Do you have a good enough voice? Like, that'll do voice? Because
Yeah.
I guess I'm thinking with something like making the bed, there's levels, right?
I know, you're right.
There's levels to just straightening the covers out versus arranging the pillows versus
Yeah, my anger part gets involved there. My anger part is like, no, if it's not easy, we're not doing it. I'm not doing something halfway. It's so silly. I don't care though. It's fine.
Well, that's it though, isn't it? Because I think something's going, if there's a part of us that we recognize as a part of us that is kind of pushing back against whatever it is, the thing that we know that will make us feel better. Sometimes it's about what other parts can communicate with that part. So there is a part of me that will respond quite well to being told, Sarah, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's not about you as well. It's not like it's about everybody else and not me. There was a leveler in that. And so, yeah, when you know the part or you understand, you get a sense of like, what is the part, the overwhelmed part, whatever it might be. That's when you figure out, okay, what does that part need? What parts do I then need to deal with that part? And sometimes that is developing a new part because some people don't have any self-compassion. There isn't a compassionate part that comes in. I didn't used to have that.
Me too.
I really didn't like that part. I cannot believe that part now lives in me. And when she comes forward, like it's such a relief. That's my second book, by the way.
Self-compassion.
It's going to be on that.
You're going to be the next Kristen Neff?
No, not a research person.
Okay.
It's a whole different thing. Because what was it? No, it's just my. Anyway, like, what did I say?
Can you leave that in?
I was gonna say, like, one of the ways when I went on my own experiential compassion journey, that sounded really wanky. I didn't like that at all. But like, I had this realization that self-compassion is about compassion for humanity. And then I heard somewhere else, basically Kristen Neff, say exactly the same thing. And I've never read a thing of hers. In fact, the only thing I've probably heard directly of hers is via you.
Huh.
And it kind of annoyed me. I was like, I realized
I know. I've done that so many times. I'm like, that's my idea.
As if I'm the only person on the planet who could possibly correlate self-compassion.
Then I just get mad that I didn't get there first.
Well, I tell you what bothered me was that I was worried that people would hear me say it and I wasn't crediting someone.
Yeah, I know.
That's the bit
I have this whole line of thought as well. I'm like, I swear I thought of that myself.
Yeah.
I've had imaginary conversations in my head
with
And
lawyers
with
about this.
people who I see their I see them post something and say something, and I'm like, I've said that, and then I imagine I'm going to get accused of it, and then I'm like, no, I have a post that I wrote about that 3 years ago that I can point to. And I'm like, I'm covered. And I have this whole
Well, I
paranoid thing that never happened.
said I did a YouTube video about body acceptance and I talked about body allowance. I'd never heard body allowance anywhere. And then I thought I'm going to put it in Chat GPT. I did this maybe 6 months ago or something. And it's like a concept that someone came up with. And I'm like,
Oh,
I thought of body
yeah,
allowance
I
as well.
believe
It's
you.
not
I
the
think we're all
most
doing that.
unusual
Yeah.
like concept to come up with. But now I'm like, am I? And I had the exact same thought. I was like, okay, well, that video was a couple of years ago. I wonder when if I
Yeah.
can find out their earliest
Yeah.
reference to
Yes. Same.
it.
But then it also, well, I mean, we're getting completely off tangent. Let's
Completely.
talk about our collective unconscious.
Yes.
What is the
Is
question we
there
have here? Yeah.
is there anything in your life at the moment, making bed aside, that you feel like actually I would like to be, or I wish I was doing that thing. That would be really helpful if I was doing more of that. If I was, but you're not.
I struggle with this. No, because I don't struggle with this. I would say that there are things I can answer that question to yes, there are things I wish I was doing, but I understand why I don't. For example, it's cold and I don't like to walk outside in the cold. It makes me upset, you know? So I don't do that. And so I know that movement is extremely helpful to me, extremely to my nervous system, to my mood, all of this. And there's a part of me that wants to be moving more often in the wintertime in general. And I
Mhm.
could technically in the evenings, I could go to the gym in the evenings. And I do sometimes, but I don't go as often as I probably would like to go to make myself feel better, the most better. But I know why. It's cold, it's dark. I'm a morning person, not an evening person, and I get that. So I wish I was, but I know why I'm not, and I also know that when the wet warm weather comes, I will again. Like I will
Mhm.
go back to my
Mhm.
morning routine. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like I think in my past, I can hear my father's voice a little bit saying that's an excuse. And that would have been my self-talk for a long time. But speaking of self-compassion, I have that fierce kind and I'm like, you don't know. That is very easy for you to say. I have lived experience of the way that I feel in the evenings and I have 75% less energy than I do in the morning. And I know that I go in the mornings and I know that I don't go in the evenings. And that is like a way that my body works. What do you know? I feel so passionately about that. And I'm like, why are you going to tell me what I feel? So I defend myself with those parts, and that is my self compassion because I don't think I'm not going because I'm making excuses for myself. I think those really are the reasons, and they're valid to me.
Every Monday, I book myself on the 8:20 p.m. Pilates class, and every Monday I cancel that class.
Really?
Mhm.
Why?
Because I don't want to go to Pilates at 20 past 8
Oh,
at the
it's
end
too
of the
early for
day.
you. That's
No,
like
late
oh,
in the
it's too
evening,
late. Oh,
in
at
the
night.
night, at
Oh, I
night,
thought you meant in the
8:20
morning.
at night.
Oh yeah,
Because yeah, because it's never 8:20. It's never late night when I'm actually booking it.
yeah. Of course, everything
Because
looks different.
yeah, but Monday's my busiest work day, so it's the day when I spend the most time sitting in front of my computer. So what better way to round off my day than going to Pilates? And the one time out of 12 that I made it, I was really glad I went. But each week, I don't give myself a hard time, but I'm like, oh man, I still don't feel like able to mobilize
Yeah.
myself to go to a Pilates class at 8:20. I mean, I wish it was 7:30. To be fair, I still struggle at 7:30. I know, like, it's all very well going, oh, if only this, if
Yeah.
only that. Then you just wait and see
Yeah.
who I'd become if it was an hour earlier. But yeah, and so again, I don't give myself a hard time, but there's a part of me that just feels a bit gutted
Yeah.
because I would really like to get to that
Yeah.
8:20 Pilates class, and I have to give 2 hours notice to cancel the class, otherwise you get penalized. And so I have to make the decision by 5 p.m. because I run a group from
That's
5 p.m. till
tough.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
So I'm always making that decision then. And I think there was a time, there might have been a couple of times where I still haven't cancelled in time. And because I'd missed a couple, you get like a £2 fine for like
Yeah.
missing the class, late cancellation. And I was like, oh, it's £2, that's fine. What I didn't realize, because I thought they just take it out of my account because they have like direct debit. No, no, next time you go in, you get ushered away to pay this £2. And now
You're
that,
shamed.
like, Yeah, the more, I mean, they were fine, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, they weren't being funny with me at all, but I felt like this because I'm not the
Accusation.
person,
Yeah.
and I'm also very thoughtful about it's something I really make an effort to be thoughtful about cancelling classes in time so that other people can have the spaces if they want them. But yeah, and that's changed the game as well because now I'm like, I feel like I
Do
don't
it.
have permission
Yeah.
to decide last minute. But they'll get to know me as the person who's always paying £2 whenever she goes.
So you're just canceling it to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and if they just took it quietly out of my bank account, I think I would just let them have some more
Yeah, you
money.
should really let them know that that's a better marketing. That's better for their brand. But this is an excellent example. I think this is a good, like, non-existential example that we could really use to be more relatable. But I think, okay, this is my thought on that. I did a podcast episode on habits, and it's like that kind of a situation, I think, would require a certain amount of energy to change. Not just because it maybe is a habit to not go at that time, but because of the physiological evening, tired, fatigue things. I think in situations like that, s- either we accept it and stop signing up for it, or we stay. I mean, an option is to just continue doing it as you do, or we have to be very intentional about. It's almost like you're reversing upstream. Like if you're going with a current and like it's like turning around and going up the current, which takes a certain amount of energy and intention. And that would be the only way to do it. And it's like you have to have enough opposing force energy to make you do that. So
Hmm.
it's almost like it can bother you, but it doesn't bother you enough to match the energy of changing it. You know what I mean? And that's where even I've talked to people who have like disorder in their food, but it's not an ED. And it's almost like it's not enough. It's not bad enough to warrant all of the change that would go into completely changing my relationship with food. And that stinks in a way because it's sometimes like, does it really have to get that bad or that meaningful to me to actually shift something? But it does require, I don't know, like that's the kind of situation where if I was in it, I'd be like, if it really meant a lot to me, I would probably have to set up some kind of accountability. Like I'd have to challenge myself in a way that I needed to be accountable maybe to someone else to do that. And it would be hard and it would be sticky for a while until I established a rhythm of doing it.
Hmm. But ultimately, when I think about why I want to do it, the reason why I want to do it is because I want to move more on a Monday when I'm sitting. So actually looking at that rather than how do I find a way to push through the block of going, it's like actually how do I get the outcome that going to that 8:20 class would give me in another way in the day.
Mm.
And I haven't told you, I'm actually back on the yoga mat. I
Oh,
think this
good.
is day 4. I'm back on the mat, morning and night again. It feels I always thought, not I always thought, but certainly recently I've been thinking, I don't know how to even get myself back into the twice a day because my back still isn't great. I can't do. I have to be so careful because I am worried about I'm going to do something silly and set it off again. But yeah, it was really surprising to me how the first night I did it, it was a little bit like there was like a sign. It was like, oh, there she is. There she
Mm.
is. And it was nice going back into that. But I tell you what is difficult, and maybe this some of the listeners might relate, especially people who want to get more into exercise when perhaps you used to do it and you haven't for a while, and there's like a block with that, is how different my body feels. Everything from my shoulders to my ankle, like all of it. When I try and sit cross-legged, my knees are like up here. And I never had that. Not never had that, but haven't had that for years because I used to, listen, I used to do yoga morning and evening 4 years. And then in March had a back problem and haven't tried to go back to it a few times and it aggravated my back. So I'm going back so slowly and so gently. And even how doing like the smallest things that before would barely feel, like feeling like my body struggling to just hold that position just from a strength perspective or an opening perspective. It's difficult. And I've had to be so intentional about being so tender. I want to use the word tender, not even gentle, but so tender with myself about it because it's quite hard to be with my body with it feeling as different as it
Yeah.
does when I move. And I've done this kind of work with clients. Of course, it's interesting having to kind of live what I preach, but sometimes the going back to something, particularly movement, where if you maybe used to do it before, there's a grief in going back and experiencing your body so differently to how it was maybe when you felt your best when doing that kind of
Yeah.
movement. And this is why we need self-compassion.
Yeah. Well, and that's also I was going to say the parts work that came up as like the part of us that's afraid of confronting the grief,
Mm,
because on the surface it sounds like, well, if you just go, they'll give us the strength and flexibility back. But there's a part in front of it that's saying, I don't want to confront the deficit first.
yeah. And with this not being able to push, because normally I would try to I'd be like, oh, there's a muscle memory here, let's just go at it. And I can't. Wow, it would be so unwise, I think, too. And I think that's probably a really good experience from a personal involvement perspective to go and to not push,
Yeah.
to
Do
kind
you
of be
think that
with it.
with the Pilates, then there's a reason that you're not going?
About Pilates itself, do you mean?
Yes.
No, because I'm going after this and I missed my
Okay.
calf time, so I'll definitely be going.
Okay.
And that's an earlier one, so that's at, 10 to 6. It took me a long time because I joined a new gym. It took me a long time to get myself to even go to a class because there's something about once it's familiar. So, for example, I know that the class on a Thursday I really like, and the class on a Saturday I really like. The Monday class, if the Thursday class is on a Monday, would that be different? I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Or maybe is there maybe like a part of you that's like, kind of like at that time you actually do need rest? We just think we need movement?
Maybe that time of day, but I
Yeah.
think this is where I think my schedule is just sort of not quite working for me. I mean, to be fair, I have the whole point of setting up my schedule the way I do is that I have a couple of hours at lunchtime. Like this is why it's like if I got out for a walk at lunchtime,
Oh, right.
not going for Pilates, fine, fine. I go out for a
But
walk.
it's not, but it's December.
Yeah, and so I end up not going for the walk. I'm like, it's okay, I'll go to Pilates later.
I gotcha, gotcha. I do that too. That's what I do too. And then because I'm like, I'm not going out. It's freezing outside. I'm not going for a walk. And then I'm like, I'll go to the gym tonight. And then tonight comes, I'm not going to the gym. Like,
Yeah.
but it's also like, well, I think that's actually best for me. Like, I think that's what it's like. What makes sense on paper is different than what makes sense in context. Which doesn't mean I don't need movement or that you don't need, that Pilates wouldn't benefit you, but not at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's just a schedule issue,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
not like
think
a
it's
moral
still,
one.
yeah, on one hand, if I got myself to go, I think it still would be beneficial. So there is an element
All
that it
right.
would still benefit me if I could get myself to go. I don't think there would be any downside to that. But the energy and the effort in trying to get myself to go and like the pushing against that, that's the part that is
Okay.
feeling less and less worth it because it's not yielding any results. So do
Would you
I
go
go
if
to
you had
battle
someone to
with
go
it?
with?
Sorry?
Would you go?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there was a Tuesday evening yoga class that I used to go to with a friend, and there is no way I would have managed to have got myself to that class on many occasions had it not been because I knew that I'd be meeting my
Okay.
friend there.
I think that's a good episode topic actually, is individualism versus, collective or like accountability. Like I should be able to do it myself versus
Hmm.
I need help or support or
Yeah.
accountability.
Codependence versus interdependence versus hyperdependence.
Yeah.
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 You writing it down?
No.
You had your eyes down. I thought you were like, let me write that down.
I'll read it later. Um,
We'll
yeah,
remember in the
yeah. I
edit when
think
we
I
listen
think
to
that's
this.
come through with podcasting, actually.
Mm.
Like how easy it is to do this, but how much harder it is to do by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we taking away?
Let us know, dear listener.
Yeah, right. That's on you. Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, I think the one that it is a universal experience, and your words, I think, will probably resonate in my ears around the small physical obstacles being exponential in the mental load department. Parts, listen to your parts, guys.
Yeah.
Because if what you are battling with to try and get yourself to do the thing, and you're never able to do the thing you're battling with is yourself somewhere. So
Yep.
it's like there is a conflict there that's looking for resolution, and that continuing to battle may not be the answer, if it's not yielding the results you want. Anything else?
It's not your fault all the time.
Some
I
of the
realize
time
it
it
all the
is.
time.
Yeah, I know. But some of the time it's absolutely your fault, you loser.
Leave that in.
But yeah,
All right.
wheel. Okay. Well.
Well, see you next month.
Sure.
And the light in the evening will be getting lighter, at least in this hemisphere.
Yeah. Well, it'll be later when it's longer.
Be lighter later.
Later. That's
It'll be
it.
lighter later.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Bye.